Alright, we're rolling episode 26. Me, Rory Spooner, James Veck, Arcade recently back again. Boxing Day fixtures, we're here to cover them and everything else in between. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas. Thanks again to everybody subscribed. Get my words out. There we go. So yeah, everyone who subscribed, we appreciate it. Everyone who's been on SoundCloud listening, in different parts of the world, appreciate that. All the IG followers, love that as well. Keep telling everybody to follow us. Alright lads, where are we going to kick off? So should we start with Liverpool Newcastle? Seeing as Reece is a Newcastle fan and Liverpool are a very hot topic.
Let's go off to a flyer, Reece. Come on.
Can't wait for that one, yeah. Let's just get it out of the way, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Liverpool, it's about the scoreline, what you said you'd predict.
It's not a surprise, is it, really?
No, it's not. It's not. It is a cold day in hell, though, when Lovren scores a volley and then Tom Daly gets a second.
Oh, my God, what a finish that was, by the way.
Tom Daly.
What a finish.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll come to that. Lovren, what a strike, like, what's going on there? Like, how is he doing that?
Well, I mean, he was.
That's he's got in his head clearance. I reckon he's got clearance, and he's just struck it, and he's right full one, like.
Yeah, he's caught Phil Jagielka syndrome there, hasn't he? He's just seen it, and he's seen his name up in the lights. To be fair, he's a Ballon d'Or challenger, isn't he? So that's what he said.
He does. He did say that, didn't he? Yeah, he reckons that he is one of the. Is it one of the? I'm sure he said one of the best defenders in the world.
I'm not having that. I wouldn't put him in the top 10.
Yeah, Champions League runner-up and World Cup runner-up, so best in the world. Yeah.
I'm just looking at I'm just looking at an image of him striking a ball. Now that is, look at that technique personified. That is. You don't teach that.
No, you
that's
can't.
natural.
And Jordan Henderson's just watching and thinking, how can I do that?
Jordan Henderson is actually in the background.
That's not sideways, Diane.
Yeah,
that's not sideways.
Is that Henderson?
It is actually. I'm sure it's
Henderson
in the background.
Yeah.
He said, God, I wish I could do that. In the background, he's a very, very good goal. And the second one, we should probably cover that one. There's quite a controversial penalty incident. I'm saying like part dive there.
Part dive.
But
are you joking?
No, the issue is that he's definitely gone down way, way too easy. But the reason why I say part dive is that as soon as you make contact, you put the decision in the attacking player's hands, don't you?
Well, it's not a foul.
I don't think it is, no. But it's not one of those where
he's felt someone brush. I mean, it could have been the wind for all you know.
Yeah, but I've seen way worse.
That's how slight it was.
I've seen way worse in terms of players going down without being touched. That's a full-on dive.
It's a dive. He should have been booked for it. And to be fair, the FA should have taken retrospective action.
What do you think, Spoon?
You don't want people going down like that. I mean, I'm a little biased, but
I'm not.
The game is a game, right?
What you'd say is Paul Dummett shouldn't give him the opportunity to go down. I get that, but it's a dive, and we don't want it in football. So why haven't the FA taken action over it?
Salah has played the game. He's absolutely made the most of it. And do I think that it was enough for him to go down? No, absolutely not. But like we say, it's not one of those where he's literally gone down with no contact and he's totally conned it. What he's done, he's felt the contact, and he's just gone and he's just gone down and taken it. And I don't agree with the fact that it's got to that stage in football where pundits are saying, "Oh, we shouldn't give him the opportunity to do that."
Look, it's a dive. The reason it's a dive is he has gone down like someone's taken his legs away because they've touched his arm.
Mm-hmm.
When Pepe went down holding his face after someone touched his chest, everyone was up in arms over it. Well, he's gone down like his legs have been taken away from him because someone's brushed his arm. At what point do we say, well, football's a non-contact sport then?
Well, the way I would look at it is that I would say there's contact, but it's not a penalty. I think you got to be careful when people are shouting that he's flat out diving. Whilst I can totally see that side of it, but I think what you say there as a ref, or what you should be saying, is that's absolutely not a penalty. There's not enough contact at all for you to be doing that, and it's no penalty, and just play on.
I may be biased here. Might be
possibly
biased, yeah.
Biased,
but when you're going through on goal, you can't be waiting for that kind of contact. You want to be trying to score, actively score a goal. That's more exciting. I mean,
I can totally see what you're saying, right?
And Newcastle, if that was, let's just say that was a Jose Perez, a Van Dijk, right?
Van Dijk would never have done that.
Okay.
He's the best defender.
All right, let's say Dejan Lovren, right? Because he's the
Lovren,
Lovren
would have volleyed him into the car park, wouldn't he?
That's the other way around, right? That's the opposite way around. The referee doesn't give that. I honestly don't think the referee gives it if it's Newcastle at Anfield rather than Liverpool at Anfield. The ref has been weak.
It's a tricky one because unfortunately we don't know that. I understand what you're saying, but for me, I think that the ref should have just just waved it on, no penalty, it's not enough, and play should have carried on. If you start trying to dish out cards for diving, then as soon as there's contact involved, it's a very fine line that you're treading then. So it definitely wasn't a penalty for me, but I think ref should just waved it off, no penalty, carry on.
Yeah, as far as Newcastle are concerned in that performance, I wouldn't say that it's any real cause for concern. We all knew that they were rubbish going into the Anfield game, and the lineup that was picked there by Rafa Benitez, it was kind of a lineup that was kind of saying, we kind of know we're going to lose this, so let's at least rest some of our key players. I mean, there was a point where they went 2-0 down, and Rafa Benitez pulled one of our strikers off and put on Sean Longstaff for his first ever Premier League minutes.
I saw that,
They threw the game at that point, which I can understand.
It was undusted.
Why would you try and rescue a game that's really unsalvageable? This Liverpool team has only conceded 7 goals last season. You're not going to overturn a 2-0 deficit. It's disappointing as a Newcastle fan that Rafa Benitez picked that lineup, but hopefully we can go into the next game, and if they win against Watford on Saturday, then it's kind of totally justified, because that's a huge 3 points if they can beat Watford at St James's.
Away at Watford.
Away at Watford, yeah.
Last episode, lads, there's a lot of debate about Liverpool. Now, I'm of the opinion that I think they will win it this season. You guys, are you still in Camp No?
Well, it seems now like every time that we do an episode, and obviously over the Christmas period, they come in very thick and fast. And we did the last podcast episode when Mourinho was still manager, and all of a sudden, in a matter of a day or so, he's gone, and it just completely changes everything. And then we talked about Liverpool winning the league, and City maybe winning it the last episode, and since then it's developed even further. So I think it's Spurs are actually the closest now. Spurs are 6 points, and then City are 7 points. So like an awful lot has changed since I last made my prediction. Liverpool are in such a commanding position now, because they actually look like they don't look like losing. I think they've got City in January as well, haven't they? That's a huge game.
Yeah, I don't know specifically when, but it might be early January.
What I'll say is that I'm not going to call it over yet, but if Liverpool go to the Etihad and get 3 points, then it's done. I think it could be done.
I think
that's 9. That's 10 points they're clear of.
City, yeah. What I would say is their next game is against Arsenal, and that is a massive game. Arsenal, we know, have got goals in them. You give Aubameyang a chance and he scores.
It's at Anfield, all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they don't lose at Anfield.
No, but they should have lost against Manchester City, and Man City missed a penalty. So obviously they're not immune to it. And I don't think they can go unbeaten all season. And so these are the games. And after the Arsenal game, they got the City game. So let's say they lose against Arsenal. Let's just say, they draw against Arsenal, they drop points. They got to go to the Etihad. That's a hard place to go. It's a hard place to go. I know Crystal Palace beat them a few weeks ago, but it's a hard place to go. And I honestly think Liverpool lose against Man City at the Etihad. I honestly do. Like I said in the last podcast, they're a team of losers. I honestly think they're a team of losers.
Yeah, but do you know what's really like so strange at the moment? I can't it surprised me, and it doesn't at the same time. City have now lost 3 of their last 4 games. We talk about how good the City side are at the moment. There's no evidence to suggest that at the moment. They look shot. Defensively, they look all over the place. And without Fernandinho, that they've got 2 players for every position apart from Fernandinho's position. They cannot replace him.
What I would say is that one thing that City are going to do in January, we can only imagine, that Liverpool aren't. Liverpool are in the position now where they can just go, we're brilliant, we're going to win the league, and they're just not going to do anything in the transfer window. City can go out and spend 100, 200 million on a play on 2 or 3 players, they can help those problems. They can deepen their squad. Like I said, I think Liverpool have the potential to go far in the last 16. I don't think City do. I will always say that City have got a run on them, like 10 straight wins, and I don't think Liverpool will continue to do that. I think Liverpool have had their really good form of this season, and I think as soon as they lose, because they will lose a game, whether it's away to Spurs, whether it's at home to Arsenal, away to Man City, they're going to lose. They're not going to go unbeaten.
No, of course not.
How do they bounce back from that? And like I said, I just don't see them as a team of winners.
Well, there's only one thing they can do about that is actually then go on to win something. So they can't do anything about the fact they haven't won anything yet. They've just got to break the hoodoo and actually win. it will be very interesting to see what they do if and when they do lose, and how you respond to that, because then they haven't tasted that this season and they don't know what that feels like yet. So it's a different mentality coming back from a loss, and yes, it will be interesting to see how they handle it. But just a point on what you mentioned about the January situation. Jurgen Klopp has already come out and said that he's not ruling out January signings. First of all, they do have financial firepower, Liverpool, as they've showed. So it's not like they can't go out and spend 40, 50, 60 million on a player. And also you have to look at one. I only think City really need one player. Like I said, they've got 2 players for every position. So there's only one player that, if I was Pep Guardiola, I'd be looking at, and that's trying to replace Fernandinho, and that's a second, someone to come in for Fernandinho, because there's not really that much quality available in January. Really, people don't make title-winning signings in January.
Very rarely, no. That's very
well.
True,
I mean,
actually,
Liverpool signed Virgil van Dijk in January.
Yeah, but I mean, it ultimately didn't.
Took him time to bed in as well.
It didn't at that point in the season. It didn't ultimately impact to a great deal of what happened in that season. He's had a full run of the season now, and he's really, come on to, as we've pretty much called him the best defender in the world at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, you don't typically make signings that are going to impact your title run in January. You just bring in reinforcements.
I think that you'd be underestimating Pep Guardiola to say that he's not identified problems in his squad and has already told his board that I want one of these 3 players or what have you. I think they definitely need a backup left back. I think we've seen now that Fabian Delph, while he had a good season,
he's a liability, isn't he?
He's a centre midfielder playing at left back. I mean, it's hard to judge.
He's not that good of a centre midfield player
well,
either.
Yeah, he's just bang average, but he's a Premier League footballer,
funny thing
for sure. But
is that it was only 2 weeks ago that Pep Guardiola said that, and that's before the Palace and Leicester loss. Pep Guardiola actually said in an interview that he believes his City side have improved this season. And
interesting.
And he said that, and you look at it now, and it completely puts
I wouldn't say that.
what he said makes it look silly.
I think De Bruyne has been out injured for a while this season, and it's been hard for the City players. Like Aguero's been out for a few weeks as well. Mendy's been out for a lot of the season.
But this is why they spend all this money bringing in this quality. That's why they've got Jesus, and they've got Sane and Sterling and Mahrez and Bernardo Silva and Gundogan and all these talented players.
So can you really replace a De Bruyne or a Silva or an Aguero?
Well, Silva stepped up in his absence.
I mean, when Mendy gets injured, they've got a choice. They've got a choice of Zinchenko and Delph. I mean, that's not title-winning quality.
But then you look at other teams. Like sometimes injuries do happen, and you have to prepare for that, and that's why they spent all this money. If Salah gets injured, who have they got to come in? Liverpool, Origi. Shaqiri.
Yeah, I think Shaqiri would step up then. Actually, I've.
He's not going to do a Salah, is he?
I meant to touch on the Shaqiri. I think he's been unreal this season, especially the last couple of months. I think he's been playing behind the 3, Firmino, Mane, and Salah,
that was there, yeah.
and I think he's been considering the season he had for Stoke and the seasons before they got relegated as well. I just thought this guy, he's just not impressive. But for Liverpool, he's just been.
I actually said that before Liverpool signed him that he would do such a good job for a big club, and I think it might have been you mentioned it, maybe Adrian as well. And Adrian's a Liverpool fan, by the way. Said, nah, I wouldn't really want him with Liverpool because his goal scoring record's not that great, and look at his. If you think like he scored a lot more goals for Stoke than what he actually did, and when you look at him on paper, he didn't score that many. But I just said that he has such ability and moments of magic in him that in a better side with better players, he will just do good things.
Yeah,
and you look at him, and he is one of the signings of the season.
100%. Shaqiri, when do you see him score that goal against United in pre-season, the overhead kick?
Yeah,
I knew he was on his job then.
Yeah.
As soon as he scored that, I was like, this guy's going to do something.
Yeah.
The game for Liverpool Man City is actually, well, we're recording this today on the 28th, and the game is on the 3rd of January. It's a little quicker than I thought it was.
Yeah, I knew it was coming up quick.
So it's coming very quick. The interesting thing about that game is I don't think Liverpool, even if they lose, it'll affect them. I think, as I say, this season the stars are going to align for them, and we'll come back to this video and the one I said previously in maybe 5 months' time, and we'll see. But for me, I think it's a Liverpool title. That Man City side, I find them to be a bizarre club, and I was saying to research just before we recorded, I'll touch upon it now because I didn't get a chance to ask properly. That Manchester City project, so I'm going to call it a project, right?
Mm-hmm.
How sustainable is that? Because you've just mentioned now Manchester City can go and spend £100 million on X, Y, or Z. yet they cannot fill a 40,000-seater stadium.
No, but their season their prices for their tickets are insanely high, and that the merchandise is really high. And to be fair to them, when I live in Manchester, right? And
that's why I wanted your opinion.
Manchester United is the bigger team. It's the bigger club. Right? I'm not going to say they're the bigger team because they're not. They're the bigger club, and it is without a shadow of doubt, Manchester City is a better marketed side in Manchester. Manchester United,
is that just
Manchester? No.
In Manchester, I talk from in Manchester. Right?
Is that where you're living in Manchester? Okay, because are you? And I'm not saying you don't.
No,
this is a
you
genuine
go into
question.
the city centre and you'll see billboards for Manchester City. You'll see billboards for the Amazon documentary of Man City. You'll see the Man City stores that are dotted around everywhere. I'm telling you, Manchester United don't have any
what I
of
would
it.
say though is that my mate Danny, who's from Manchester, and he has said on a number of occasions that that's in certain parts, but he's obviously been, as you'd expect, all parts of Manchester, and it's very red in certain areas and blue, like as you'd expect. So I don't think it's, maybe from what you've seen, certainly not saying
in
any
Trafford,
different.
Near Old Trafford, the stadium in Trafford, there's the Trafford Centre, which is a massive shopping centre, and there's even a massive City store in there, and there is not a United store in that centre. So they were either ploughing so much money into marketing and showing that
Which would make sense, because if they're trying or aspiring to get anywhere near the size of United, then obviously they're going to invest in a lot of marketing.
And I think as well, like you said, Spooner, it's a project. The owners took over in 2008, and it maybe not until 2012 or something that they felt the success of ploughing that amount of money into the club. If we think about kids growing up now in Manchester, generally speaking, one of the major factors in deciding who you support, A, is your family, but B is you want to pick a winning team, right?
Yeah, that's true.
In the last 4 or 5 years, no child is picking Manchester United.
No, those days are gone now.
They're picking Manchester City, and so if we're talking a project, 10, 15 years time, perhaps they will be able to fill that stadium. It's a beautiful stadium, and it's perfect transport links to the centre. It's really accessible. What they've got there is very good, and their academy system there, they've put so much money into that, and the younger players, they're getting a chance. We look at Phil Foden, Zinchenko, just to name a couple. They got Diaz, who's played a few.
Yeah, Diaz actually looks like he's on his way to Madrid now as well.
When you say they're getting a chance, they're getting more of a chance than they ever once did, but it's still not consistent. It's very little.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that let's say, for example, now that Phil Foden goes through, John Stones stays at the club long term and improves. Other young English players get a chance. You're looking at, if you're born in Manchester, you're thinking, well, it's full of English players, young English players. It's full of exciting players who are going to win trophies. It's got the best manager in the world. Why wouldn't I support them?
Well, this is the thing now, right, with Manchester City. I ask, is it sustainable? Because they intrigue me in a sense that you say they're very well marketed in Manchester, but on a global stage, Manchester United is significantly bigger.
Of course, yeah.
But the issue I have with Manchester City is we have these financial fair play rules. If you can't fill a 40,000-seater stadium and your only projected base of you being marketed is your hometown, Manchester, how are you spending 100 million on a player? That's not complying with financial fair play.
And there's a lot of brown envelopes being passed around that club as well.
Yeah, as the WikiLeaks showed,
there's a huge investigation going on.
The Football Leaks is the equivalent of WikiLeaks. If anyone hasn't seen it, Google it. The Manchester City thing is very interesting. Yeah. Basically, Manchester City are funneling money between accounts and agents and different people in order to comply with financial fair play. And they're essentially in bed with UEFA. Now, this Manchester City side... Allegedly, we've no real proof other than the proof that's online.
But the fact it's been investigated by all the governing bodies says that this could be something. But
it is happening, right? Look, we can turn a blind eye to it. It is happening. The point I'm making is this. If Pep Guardiola goes to Manchester City, stays there for, let's say, another 5 years, and he wins 1 or 2 Premier Leagues, he never wins a European Cup, he's had access to the best squad, potentially, the Premier League has ever seen, and they've bent every fucking rule possible, and they still don't win, do they still become sustainable? Do the owners... No, because these Middle Eastern playboys, right, from sort of that area, they get bored very easily. I'll tell you what I watched the other day, and it's very interesting if people haven't watched it. I know you're a big fan of Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. I watched the Joe Rogan podcast, and Dan Bilzerian was on it, and Bilzerian talks about money can't buy you happiness. He says it can buy you pleasure, but pleasure will eventually evaporate very quickly. It doesn't buy you happiness. You can buy the best of the best of the best, but once you've done it, you're like, well, what else is there to do? In 10 years' time, if they've bent every single rule possible, they have amassed all the best players, they've taken the coach of his generation, and they still haven't won a Champions League, they still can't fill their stadium, do those owners then turn around and go, well, should we just do something else?
What, before I'll let you answer, James, I'll address that, because what is the main thing, if you ask me, you got a team on the pitch, playing another team who's come to the Etihad, whether it be, Wolves or whether it be Bayern Munich or Barcelona, right? You've got a team has come to the Etihad, and it's a team versus a team, it's a manager versus a manager, it's a club versus a club, right? What is the main other factor that can determine the performance on the pitch?
It's various different factors, I suppose.
The fans.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a good fan base and, a really good supporter
following.
All I
see is plastic seats at the
Well,
Etihad.
yeah, I mean, I've been there. You can't hear anything when you're there. It's got no real atmosphere there. And I might be slated for this, but I just think they're terrible fans. But like we said, if it's a project and they're going to start attracting more and more people, and they've got the best football in the world there right now.
They've been there 8 years now.
It's a decade
and
now.
They've been there almost a decade, right? And you're still not attracting fans. Bear in mind now that Manchester City side, again, they amassed, was it 100 points last season?
Yeah.
As you've rightly pointed out, played some of the best football we've probably ever seen in the Premier League. It was that good. They still can't fill a stadium. You're playing the best football. You spend hundreds of million.
But
you can't
they
fill a
charge
stadium.
£55 a ticket.
That's
As
the point.
do-
That's
that's
the
the
cost
going
of,
rate,
cost
that
of
is.
doing business.
Yeah,
though.
but people in Manchester, especially the area in which the Etihad is, I would say that
But this is when I talk about being sustainable. If your demographic or market base is people who can't afford £55 tickets, yet you're spending 100+ million on players and you can't fill a stadium, I don't see how that can continue over time.
It's not. I
Unless
don't
you're
think it is.
bribing the fuck out of everybody.
Let's say you're Barcelona, okay, and it's 100k capacity, and they do get a good average attendance there.
Oh yeah, very good. Average.
Yeah,
but I reckon a good 5% of that attendance is tourists who just go, this is Barcelona.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How much
Well,
is a ticket?
the
€30.
100%.
We're going to watch them.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, is that there was I saw a stat quite recently. I've actually seen it a couple of times, and it's you look at the highest average attendance across a season in Europe's top 5 leagues, and although they've got the biggest stadium, Barcelona is at like 100,000, it's like 5th on the list. United have a higher average attendance, Dortmund top, Bayern Munich higher, I believe. There's one or two others as well. Now, like the point made about Barcelona, 100,000 capacity, their average attendance across the season is like 70-something thousand.
And Barcelona as well, understand, are the kings of Spain.
Yeah.
Spanish football cannot exist without Real Madrid or Barcelona. It just can't exist without them. But English football can exist without Man City, because if they go, there's still 5 other teams.
What I was going to say, you mentioned earlier, and for it to be sustainable, the huge thorn in their side is that they haven't won the Champions League, like you say.
Yeah, look.
And for them to be firstly regarded and considered as a top European club, that has to happen. And for all the money and resources, and you saw the rules that they've potentially bent to make that happen, they still yet to pull it off. And I think that
this is it.
If they do pull that off, then things could change. But until that happens, and I don't really see it at the moment, because
I'm looking at them, right, and I'm thinking to myself, how have you spent all that money on all those players, yet one position fucks up your entire season?
yeah,
One position.
the back 5 is like 200 million.
And you like Laporte. I quite like Laporte. The more I watch him, I think he's great. I don't really like John Stones. I don't think he's that great. Kyle Walker, again, he's okay. I mean, he's not, you said Kimmich would be an excellent right back for someone. I think Kimmich is a better right back than him. There's probably better ones. Some of the money they've invested, I do look at it and think it is quite questionable. But again, they've had players, in the past, like for example, what was the lad in goals? Was it Bravo?
Bravo, yeah.
Bravo didn't work, ditched him straight away, went and bought someone else. There's very few other clubs that have the resources. Bear in mind, again, can't fill a stadium, aren't winning, the ultimate trophy, to then go, okay, we're going to just take this goalkeeper that we took from Barcelona, ditch him after a season, and then go and buy another one. At some point, this will come, it'll have to come crashing down, because it's not going to work long term.
The expectations change, don't they? And when they won that first league under Mancini, it was pandemonium. The fans that were there went nuts, and rightly so. But now they've won a couple of league titles. It's not enough for them anymore now, is it? And the
But
fans are bored of it.
Guardiola wasn't brought in to win league
No,
titles.
because they've done that.
Again, let us know your opinion on the whole Manchester City thing, because it's actually a really interesting subject. They are a very interesting side on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
Guardiola, like I said, was brought to win the Champions League. They don't give a fuck, right? These guys, like where they're from, Qatar, they're kings, they're playboys. They do what they want, when they want, how they want.
It's all money, isn't it?
It's all about money. They don't answer to anybody, and they're used to having the best of the best. So for me, I'm looking at it thinking, well, Pep Guardiola hasn't won a Champions League in a long time. And City, they might not win a Champions League for a long time.
The thing is as well is that those owners sell up as well. The money is from the owners primarily. Like you look at clubs like United and Liverpool, that's like club generated income from like marketing and sponsorships.
This is what I'm referring to. Yeah,
ticket price.
This is it. Yeah,
actual
turnover.
Yeah,
that's
turnover.
What it is, yeah. It's not oil money. Yeah. That's what it is.
So it's a very interesting debate, like you say, about is it sustainable or not. But I think obviously we look at the game itself. That's the first time City have lost consecutive Premier League games since December 2016.
It seems in order to beat them, you have to score a wonder goal. Like Townsend scored a wonder goal. Was it Pereira scored the other? That was a belter
Great goal.
as well. Oh, yeah. Absolute.
All credit to Leicester.
Pummeled it into the net.
Because if there's one way to answer your critics, like Claude Puel was coming under a lot of criticism.
How is this guy under fire, by the way? Like, to go away to Stamford Bridge and win as well.
He wasn't doing that great. He only won 2 of his 10 before. Only 2 of his 10 games he'd won before that. And then he just turns over City at Stamford Bridge. And
I think he needs a bit of credit. They're a good
he
side.
definitely deserves it now, yeah. But that was a great goal by Pereira. But City, I don't want to say with that at the moment. They're losing 3 of the last 4 games. It says here as well that the 6 of their 11 defeats under Guardiola have all come in December.
Do you know what? The run-in is going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How long is Fernandinho out for? Does anybody know? Or is it just undisclosed right now, is it?
I'm not sure.
Because even going to buy, right, a top-class defensive midfielder in January, clubs won't let them go easily. It's mid-season. All the best defensive midfielders have obligations, and they're probably in the running for trophies anyway.
The thing is, right, we're talking about Fernandinho here. He's 32, possibly 33 now. They need to buy someone anyway. If we're talking about a long-term project here, Fernandinho is he's Pep Guardiola's guy.
Yes, yeah.
That Man City team is built around Fernandinho.
He's 33.
But they need to buy someone to bring in, because Fernandinho's not going to be able to keep doing it. We've seen this season he's been out injured a few times.
Your body just gives up after a certain age. So.
They need to bring someone in, like someone who's got game experience in that position, and also is quite young and can learn from Fernandinho. Someone like a Julian Weigl.
De Jong is the one that's mentioned for Ajax. Again, very silky player, but I mean his signature. People are going to throw absolute hundreds of millions at him in agents' fees and wages. Barcelona and PSG look the most likely, but again, everybody, let us know your opinion. Who do you think should replace Fernandinho? I'll probably incorporate that into the video. I was saying I was going to do one, the transfer videos. Yeah. So we'll incorporate that into it early January, and we'll get your opinions on that as well. The Manchester City game, just going back to it against Leicester. Again, we talked about Man City a lot. Credit to Leicester. Do you guys think they could get into Europe, or is it just a top 10 finish comfy for them?
Yeah, I think they're too inconsistent.
Yeah.
I don't think Puel's the manager either to guide them into a top 6. And you look at the quality above them, it's just not going to happen. I think top 10, if they finish top 10 this season, that's a good season for Leicester.
Outside that top 6, we'll have a little prediction now. So we'll call the top 6 the top 6, because I don't think that's going to change too much. Who from 6 to 10? Who would you guys have? So it's sort of going from 6 down to 10.
What
so
to finish
in any particular order?
In any particular order, the clubs you would have in there.
Everton, I think, would be the team that finishes the best of the rest.
Yeah.
I think they've shown this season. Luca Digne at left back, he puts an absolute.
Him and Mina are coming on a bit now, aren't
they? Digne puts a dream of a ball in the box. Mina is a very solid centre half. Seamus Coleman's back and fit, which is huge for Everton. And people like Idrissa Gueye are underrated.
Very good.
Gylfi Sigurdsson's regained his top form, and like we spoke about on the last podcast, Richarlison, he's got strength, he's got pace, he's got skill, and he's got a will to run at defenders as well. So I think it's the makings of a 7th place side in the Premier League.
I agree with that.
It's not going to change too much now. I would say Leicester, Everton, West Ham, and I go Bournemouth to make it the top 10.
Yeah.
Maybe not in that exact order, but I like how Bournemouth play football, and I do see them getting into the top 10.
Although, when the Toon get taken over by Sheikh Mansour number 2, and we start signing Messi, right? We're going to fly up the league.
Do you know the
42-year-old Messi would be an interesting.
The frustrating thing, right, is that you're such a big club, and I won't like go into this too much, but Newcastle is such a massive club with good history and such a good fan base that if you actually had a good owner with a lot of money come in, there's no limits over good companies where you could go. But we know that's a dodgy topic anyway. But
Newcastle got 50,000 in the Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Their stadium capacity is 52,000. If they're getting 50,000 fans in the Championship, they come up to the Premier League and you want investment. We've spoke before about the investment side of things, but let's say they do get this takeover, as been rumoured for the last couple of months, and apparently it is further along than perhaps meets the eye. But let's say they can get a takeover and they can start investing in the club. They could build a 70,000 seater stadium. They could build a whole new stand, and I honestly believe would fill it.
You definitely would fill it.
Especially when the prospect of Champions League football or even Europa League football is on the horizon. And having been there for Europa League games, I remember watching Newcastle in the group stage of the Europa League against Bordeaux, right? And it was rocking, absolutely rocking. And I went to the Etihad and watched this team with De Bruyne, Aguero, Silva. Quiet.
Well, it's certainly could be a number of years away, but I will go as far as saying is that if Newcastle were to get a good takeover, they're one of those very few clubs that could really shake it up.
Yeah.
They have the possibility to do that, but it remains to be seen, obviously. Where we go next?
Well, yeah, just to give you my my best of the rest, I think Everton, Leicester, West Ham, and I'm going to probably say Bournemouth as well. Actually.
Not Watford or Wolves.
No, I think Bournemouth, Eddie Howe's done a good job. I think they'll get top 10. I hope they do as well. They're a good club. But what we'll do, we'll go to a quick interval now, guys. Again, all our IG ats, Twitter ats, they're going to be on. Make sure you add us all up, check us out. Content is now live on the IG page, so we'll have clips of this on there as well. So, make sure you get involved. We'll be back, add us all up, and we will talk more about the Premier League fixtures. Stay tuned. All right, people, we're back. So we'll touch upon Spurs, Bournemouth. As I was just saying off camera, I don't know if anybody's actually ever seen it, but you've never seen Seth Rogen on Soccer AM, have you? Before he was really famous.
No, not at all.
Basically, like they do, you put they have like a fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? They have all the teams in like a hat, right? And they say you pick one and it automatically becomes your team. Okay. So Seth Rogen picked out Bournemouth. So he picks it out and he looks at it and he goes, I've got Bournemouth. But he actually went to watch a game as well. He actually went to watch a game.
When was this?
This was years ago.
Oh, when they were shite.
Yeah, when they were shite, yeah. When he wasn't that big in fairness. Superbad might have just come out, so it might have been a while back. But we're kind of digressing anyway. But yeah, the Spurs game, I thought they'd win, but I didn't think they'd win that convincingly. Spurs are on fire. If anybody wins the league ahead of Liverpool, I think it'll be them. But they get very Spursy towards sort of about February and March. So if they can not do anything Spursy and beat Liverpool to the league, we can all keep our passports and stay in the country. So please, Spurs, do something.
I think Spurs always pump Bournemouth though. I think there's been a number of results where they've beaten Bournemouth 6-1 or 5-0 or 4-0 and they seem to always get a really, really good result against Bournemouth. I don't know what it is. They must be Bournemouth's bogey team, or what have you. But this was a very, very good performance from Spurs. Son is just he just goes from strength to strength.
Most underrated player in the Premier League.
Definitely one of them. Yeah,
100%. I agree.
Yeah. Well, Bournemouth's 5 loss to Spurs yesterday is their biggest defeat in the Premier League. So they haven't lost 6-1 to Spurs. So I don't know where you get that one from. But I know what you're saying. I do recall a certain games between them where they've been really comfortable, I'd say, Spurs against Bournemouth. They're not a side they usually tend to struggle to beat. But everything Spurs just hit yesterday just went in. They could have brought me on. I'd have struck the ball, they've gone in.
Didn't fall on your left, mate, you'd be alright.
I think it would have gone in my left as well. Kyle Walker-Peters, I think he might have a man of the match. He had like 43 assists. Yeah, I think he assisted like 3 or 4 goals.
I'm sure I read he has more assists this season than Mesut Ozil.
Most from one game.
Most
Probably.
people
I
do.
think he did, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I might be
100%.
wrong.
They just we've given them credit, in previous episodes, but it's getting to the point now where we can't even do it quietly anymore because they're just so consistent now, and the fact that they've overtaken City into second place now just shows that even further because they just keep going about their business. Like, I mean, and week after week now they just.
It's the games against the smaller
Yeah,
sides where you really add up all the points. Like, you can afford to drop a couple of points in the top 6 games and still make them up, but Spurs consistently beat the smaller sides, and they do it so emphatically as well, as we've seen.
The mad thing is as well is that they actually became the first team ever in Premier League history to not make a sign-in in the last transfer window, to not make any sign-ins.
Yeah, it's
And
incredible.
they were so, and they were. I don't want to say rightly criticised. At the time, it seemed deserved
I
criticism.
think, do you know, at the time, a lot of people, and again, Spurs fans, let us know what you think. We were all very unaware as to why Spurs had done it, but now we know they've had to borrow more money for the stadium and the delays.
But
they've got Manchester United type of debt now, Spurs, on a smaller scale. So even going into the next window,
yeah,
it's
but
gonna be hard.
in the early stage of the season, I think they dropped a couple of points, and their Champions League campaign got off to an absolute disaster. And they had a few injuries, and I'm sure we also mentioned in another episode about how they were struggling, and it looked like perhaps it was a mistake not making
They
signings.
did, yeah. They had a little dip in form.
But what a turnaround! It's the quality that they've got is, and it's, even their bench now. We've said before that they didn't really have much to come off the bench. You look at who they've gotten there to come off the bench, and they actually have genuinely decent options.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And like you say, Son is so underrated.
I like Lucas
Okay.
Moura as well, mind.
Yeah,
Lucas Moura's a very
another good
player.
one. He's had Son has had a hand in 10 goals in his last 9 Premier League games.
That's mad.
7 goals, 3 assists. Just looking at it here now, just form.
He will be going to the Asian Games though in
Yes,
January.
he will.
So it'll be interesting to see how they get on, because I find with Spurs is that if they're struggling to break down a team, I don't really see them go into another gear. In the same way that Liverpool or Man City can absolutely lay siege to a goal. I don't really see Spurs doing that. I think if they can't break down a team, then they struggle for the whole game. But what I like with Spurs is that they don't really seem that reliant on any one player.
And also Christian Eriksen has started to step up his form in the last couple of games as well. So with Son obviously going to the Asia Games, that'll be a massive miss. But Eriksen, he's playing a lot better now, and his sort of link up and understanding between Harry Kane is superb. And I was actually looking at a stat here as well now. Eriksen has assisted Kane 18 times in the Premier League.
Really?
And it's only bettered by Frank Lampard to Drogba, 24 goals. Darren Anderton to Teddy Sheringham, 20 goals, and Steve McManaman to Robbie Fowler, also 20 goals.
All
and
world-class
Yeah,
partnerships.
and you can see that though, but this is going to continue for a
Darren
long time, I would
Anderton.
imagine.
Darren Anderton
He's a
back
great
in the
player.
day, when he wasn't, icing up his groins, he was a very good football player, very underrated. But look,
So
Spurs are in with a shout.
Yeah.
though.
Them two have obviously got chemistry, and you look at Lamella as well, Lucas Moura.
Telepathy, I would say. almost.
So I don't want to say that they're going to win the league, right? Because I don't think they will, but I do think that they need to get something out of this season. They need to win a trophy. They're in such a good position.
It would be interesting if Spurs did win the league and Pochettino then went, oh, by the way, I'm going to Old Trafford. That would be incredible.
I don't think that's something that can happen.
Do you reckon?
If you win the Premier League with Tottenham, then I wouldn't say you'd go to Manchester United. It would seem like
It's like downgrading from
Yeah,
a
you-
Ferrari
massively-
to a Citroen Saxo.
massively downgrading as well. I mean, especially if he gets to the point where he can win the league, then what's to say he can't then continue to develop? He's got this massive new stadium. Why not just stay and see if you can win the Champions League?
Money talks, though.
That's just what I'm saying,
And
because they line his pockets with 3 or 4 times as much money.
he'll get more money, but also, like I said, that Spurs debt, and a lot of Spurs fans will be aware of it. A lot of football fans, I think, one of the first people who really highlighted it, ironically, was Gary Neville. There was a discussion with him and Carragher about money spent and why Spurs weren't signing players. That money, that debt that they have, is very significant. And moving forward, that's going to have to be paid before players come in. And it'll be interesting to see how they compete financially, because there'll be lots of players that they just can't afford to buy. And Pochettino might look at that and go, well, realistically, how competitive are we going to be over the next few seasons? Because you can only turn water into wine so many times. You know, it's hard going. It's not going to be easy. I could see Pochettino leaving regardless. I'm sort of edging towards that now. The more I think about that debt, that's the one thing he probably looks at as well and thinks, well, realistically, what else can I do? Even if I win the league, that's terrific, but can I climb that mountain twice? Can I take them to a Champions League final? He may do all that this season.
Is that
over
sustainable?
The next,
yeah.
But it's not sustainable over time. It just isn't. And that's going to be the harsh reality of having a new stadium, especially with the delays. But Spurs-Bournemouth, interesting game. I thought Bournemouth would do a little bit more. They had the odd chance. I think they had a goal disallowed as well, didn't they? So
yeah, they were just by far the second best team on the day. And interesting that some of the Reds, that Spurs still are without a draw this season. They haven't drawn a game.
Really,
yeah, 19 games and they haven't drawn.
I did not know.
So
they either win or lose. It's
yeah,
do or
so
die with Spurs.
it is do or die. Yeah. But no, I watched the highlights and I really enjoyed that game actually.
Yeah.
But I think Bournemouth will be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah. We'll move on to Everton. Put in a really good performance considering Spurs absolutely battered them the week before as well. Everton 5, Burnley 1. Everton, we were mentioning Lucas Digne just before when we were having that little interval, and he looks like to be a very good player. I don't think he was ever a Barcelona player, but as far as being a very good, competent left back for a top 10 side, Everton have got a steal. And a lot of Everton players are very, very good footballers that could play at a higher level depending on their desire. You look at Yerry Mina, if he develops, he could maybe go on. Andre Gomez is a fucking brilliant football player. Lucas Digne, Idrissa Gueye, I think PSG are in for him potentially as well. They have a very good chance of, I wouldn't say winning a trophy, but getting very close, Everton, if they got their arse in gear. But do you reckon they can do it? Do you reckon they have that push in them?
No, I think they play a good football.
Tell her how it is, Reece. Tell her.
No, they play good football, right? I'm a big fan of Marco Silva and the football.
He's a good manager.
He plays. I'm a big fan. I think he'll go on to manage a club better than Everton. And they got a good group of players there. I think Dini's got a wonderful left foot. And the goals he's scoring is great. But I don't think that they have the team to beat. Like, let's say they go into a Champions League. Let's say they ever finish fourth, which I don't think they will.
I don't think,
because over 38 games you've got to be better than the teams above you, and I don't think they are. But let's say they went to the Champions League, you've got to back them to get through a group phase where they're likely going to be.
Leicester did it though.
Yeah, they got through it, but they were riding a wave.
They were, yes.
A big fuck off wave as well.
And when it came to it,
a tsunami of a wave. That's what it was.
And when it came to it, they got undone by the bigger teams.
Yeah.
It's levels. Everton, at the moment at least, they haven't got it. I think they need to be teetering around there for a while, like Spurs have been.
What do you think that if Everton say finish maybe 6th or 7th this season now, 7th we'll say, okay. Question for you, Reece, what do you think that they need to do then in order to try and break that top 6?
Because like you said, they're the best of the rest, so they're the one team that can really probably break into that top 6.
They do have money.
It's about your players. It's about your pedigree of players. I mean, I like the style of football that Marco Silva's got, but they need to be able to go out and spend 70 million on a right winger. Because Walcott's not a player who can fight you into the top 4 or even the top 6. He's not. He's never been. Arsenal struggled whenever he played.
He got over 100 goals for Arsenal.
Yeah, but there were some games where he couldn't miss. But then he's terribly inconsistent. He's had problems with injuries. He's never going to be a player that's going to be able to fire you up the league. Same as Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think he's a decent enough player, but we're talking lower half of the Premier League.
My boy Cenk.
Yeah. They just.
The thing is with clubs like Everton as well, they need to be really smart with their transfer dealings, because any big prospect that comes on the market, if it's not going to a Barcelona or another top European club, your Cities, Uniteds, Liverpools are going to have them, and they have to try and just pick what they can. Because you look at, for example, West Ham with Felipe Anderson, obviously that's proved to be an incredible signing so far, and I think you tweeted as well about how other big clubs just didn't go in for him. I think Everton would need something like that, because otherwise they're not going to beat the top 4 and 6 English sides to a big signing, are they? It's just not going to happen. They can't offer the same wages, nowhere near. Just about trying. It is smart recruitment, and it's trying to get the best of what's available.
I think it's about mindset as well. When you go into a transfer market, let's say you've got the mindset of a club that's going, okay, let's challenge for the top 7. Let's challenge to be 7th place. So you might buy a player like Gareth Barry, who's got lots of Premier League experience, which they did. You might buy a player like James McCarthy or MacArthur, which they did. You might buy a player like Morgan Schneiderlin. I'm saying that the mindset of these transfers are wrong. They don't aim.
They're cast-offs.
They don't aim. They don't aspire to sign the cream of the crop.
Yeah, you would say that the signs that they've made this season are they're aiming a little bit higher. Look at Andre Gomez.
Yeah, but that's a loan.
Yeah,
Even
but it could be turned into full time. You got Sigurdsson, Bernard. I can't remember who else they signed as well. But they're making decent signings. But it's about making that next step, and that's going to be the hardest thing for Everton.
Also, I think they need a new goalie as well if they're ever gonna challenge.
You don't think short arms can?
No, I don't. No, Schmoll can't do anything for me. No.
No.
No, I just think he's not the top quality keeper. I think
To be fair,
a
he's
keeper like, for example, David De Gea or an Edison Allison.
They need to get, if they were going to buy De Gea, they'd have to get him at a young age.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. But I think a keeper of that level gets you 10 points a season.
But yeah, he's costing them points. He's got that mistake against Liverpool. That's 2 points gone. He made another one. Was it this week or last game?
Yeah, against Spurs.
Okay, they might not going to win the game, but there's one thing when your goalkeeper maybe isn't doing that great, but when he's actually costing you points as well, that's a big problem.
Yeah, interesting take on it, lads. With the next game we'll cover then, we will have a look at Manchester United Huddersfield. With me and Becky being United fans, we won't necessarily go over it in too much depth because, truth be told, it's not an awful lot to cover. The game itself, I said last week I think United will be exposed later down the line. That scoreline doesn't reflect the game. If De Gea doesn't make that amazing save and there's a chance within the first few minutes for Huddersfield to score, we could be looking at a completely different game.
You could, but it's game-changing moments, and the one thing I will say is that when United have those lulls, like we've seen many a time in the Mourinho, things weren't changing. But what they did do, to their credit, was that they reacted. And they realised that in that moment they're like, shit, we need to pull our fucking finger out here, because Huddersfield looked like they were going to equalise. But as soon as that moment came, United, they reacted to it, and to be fair to them, they went on to score 2 very good goals.
They're very attacking, United are right now. It's the complete opposite of the whole Mourinho, Solskjaer.
That's like Reece said, play to your strengths.
But what I will say is, they are very attacking, right? But if Huddersfield are creating those chances against you, what are PSG going to do? Because United, I'm all for people being open, right, and fullbacks bombing down. But you also have to understand as well, you need to be slightly conservative, because Phil Jones and Lindelof at the back are not my favourite pairing.
No, they're not anyone's favourite pairing.
They're not anybody's favourite pairing. I like Lindelof, I don't like Jones. But against better sides, United are going to be exposed. And you're not going to outscore everybody all the time.
No, but this isn't news. We know this, and all that we've been sort of asking and saying is that United play to their strengths. This is the only thing that they can do. Their best possible option or opportunity of doing anything is by playing to their strengths, and we have good attacking players. So, and you're talking about Pogba on his day, can be as good a midfielder as any on his day, and so all you can do is play attacking football, and at the moment it's not proven to be too much of a bad thing, and you have to it's a win-win with what happens at the moment, because it's better than what we've been used to.
I need to see that in bigger games though. I'm not Cardiff and Huddersfield.
No, of course, but you can only beat what's in front of you at the moment.
That's true, but at the same time,
I
already know those players can do that in those games. That's why they're professional footballers. When the big games start to come, I need some type of evidence that this is improved.
So say, for example, United go away to Spurs, right? And they lose 3-2, but they play really good attacking football.
Then that's evidence that things are moving forward.
Yeah.
But in any case, if you were to play attacking football against Spurs, then I just think they'd take advantage of your defensive vulnerability and they'd end up smashing 5 past you.
But I think
Mourinho, for all he was criticised of playing defensive football, I think he's kind of looked at it and gone, well, we can't compete. So shall we just park the bus?
But
right?
he's also writing off the talent that they have on the front line.
Yeah, I will agree with
because United can hurt any team. They have the ability to hurt any team. And when you've got someone like De Gea in net, you always got a chance. But I totally agree with what you're saying. No, I'm really looking forward to the PSG game, if I'm being honest. I don't necessarily think it's going to go that well.
Lights at Old Trafford. It's going to be a brilliant game.
Yeah, but just attack. That's all you can do is attack.
Well, they'll probably end up like 12-11 to PSG or something, but it'll be a great game.
Talking about Huddersfield.
Yes,
Manchester United have won. Their last 3 games I think they've won have been 4-1 against Fulham, 5-1 against Cardiff, and 3-1 against Huddersfield. First of all, for 3 good performances, good attacking football, but you are against the 3 teams that we picked to go down this season.
That's why I'm not reading too much.
Don't get carried away, right?
No, we're not.
Huddersfield on the flip side of it, by the way, you've conceded against all those teams.
And should have conceded more against Huddersfield, might I add.
And Huddersfield have only scored a handful of goals this season. Now, Huddersfield are in real problems. They have got huge problems. If you can't score at home, then you are going to struggle to stay up. I don't think it's their fault. I think they could have put 100 million into that team in the summer and still not had a team good enough to be in the Premier League. Yeah, I don't think they've got a team good enough. It comes to something when it's their second season in the Premier League and I see them line up and there's still players I've never heard of. You know, these players that don't step up aren't good enough to step up. They try, but they're just not good enough. So I think they're goners. I really don't think they're going to stay up.
I don't really see a way back.
There's no one game, even if they're at home, there is no one game where you think, it's potential 3 points for Huddersfield there.
Yeah,
no one's ever betting on Huddersfield to win.
There's someone, and these guys are shit.
We didn't really, when we covered the Everton game, we didn't really mention, just very briefly, Burnley as well are right in that mix, and they've conceded 41 goals already this season, which is already 2 more than they shipped all of last season. So they're going to be right in that mix to go down as well. Yeah. But Reece is absolutely right in what he said. I know we talk about this is why you don't bet and things like that, but whenever I see Huddersfield on the accumulator slip, I will bet against them. I bet for them to lose no matter who they play in, home or away, and that tells you all you need to know about Huddersfield's chances of staying up. I think they're rock bottom. I think that's where they'll stay.
Huddersfield are only the 4th team in Premier League history to lose 6 matches in 1 calendar month. So that was Norwich in 1995, Wimbledon in 2000, Leicester in 2001. So it hasn't happened for an awfully long time. So I suppose it does tell you the quality of Huddersfield is just, it's just crap really compared to everybody else. But United again, I wouldn't read too much into it. We wouldn't overanalyze it because there's not a lot to say. They did what they were supposed to do.
It's what you would expect. They scored a few goals. Yeah, they conceded, but that's not really a big surprise to me because defensively we're a little bit all over the shop at times. So we won't really judge United that much at the moment. I think we'll wait to see a bit more evidence yet.
Yeah, cool. The question I asked you last time about Mesut Ozil, do Arsenal, can they live without him? Is he dispensable? Can they dispose of him? Emery seems to think so. For those of you who may have seen it, may didn't see it, the goal that was scored against Arsenal, I can't remember the Brighton player who scored it. Basically, Mesut Ozil didn't track back. He stopped running. Alex Scott pointed it out well in the Sky studio. Alex Scott, by the way, gets a lot of criticism, and she does not deserve that. She's very good at what she does. But yeah, she pointed out Mesut Ozil stopped running, and when you watch the actual replay, he just gives up. And Emery hooked him at half time. Can you see him leaving Arsenal now? Do you think Emery will ever take to him?
Who would buy him? I mean, if you've got 60 million to spend, are you really going to go out there and buy Mesut Ozil?
And Inter Milan and AC Milan.
Depends on the league. He would suit certain teams in certain leagues right down to like
Italy,
Napoli, Roma.
Yeah.
Teams like that would. I don't think
he'd be a big signing as well, wouldn't he?
He wouldn't have an issue with suitors, for clubs to come in for him. But then
wage-wise, I suppose it might be difficult. Yeah. Around 350k a week.
But I mean, like, that doesn't surprise me that he's not tracking a run. I mean, he's not the type of player you'd expect to track a run. Yeah. There's probably other players that should be doing that.
Put him out wide against away at Brighton, and I suppose knowing his character and his DNA, knowing that he's not going to track back, you're asking a lot of him.
A lot of big sides, a lot of clubs who have luxury players, a lot of managers don't even expect them to really defend that much. There's certain managers that gives them free rein. It says, I think, and I'm not comparing Ozil so much to this player in terms of ability, but I think it was Rio Ferdinand said that, or someone said when Ronaldo was playing for United, that Fergie he was the only player that he said, don't you worry about defending. And I'm not saying that they're on the same level, but when you have these luxury players with all this ability, a lot of managers do say to them that isn't really your job. I want you up that end of the pitch to make things happen.
That's where you're most effective.
So I don't think that's necessarily any surprises, and it doesn't make him any of a worse player. I just think that they could use him in certain games.
I disagree with it. I don't think he's excused from the work. I think you can only be excused from the work when we look at people like Lionel Messi. But even Lionel Messi comes deep to get the ball, and he does stuff with it. But I mean, he's a different class. But you look at other players, your Hazards, your Mo Salahs, they're not ever going to do defending. It's not. They're exempt from it. I wouldn't say rightfully so, because I like people who work hard.
But they have the end product.
But they
That's the
always
thing,
provide, and Ozil doesn't.
Yeah,
And if he's not providing, then he is not exempt from the work, because then you are down to 10 men.
that's the issue, because when he used to be providing, obviously you would let that kind of thing potentially slide a little bit, but now he isn't offering that much going forward and much end product, then it starts to become a bit more of an issue, doesn't it?
Well, do you know, I watched Arsenal Fan TV. Big shout out to them as well, because I love watching it. And Arsenal Fan TV, they were very divided about Mesut Ozil. On the one hand, a lot of people were like, you saying, well, he has to track back. That's his job. But then other people were like, well, look, in the first half, Arsenal played really well. Ozil was at the hub of everything. He was the creative guy. They took him off half-time, created absolutely nothing, and basically let Brighton back into the game. So there's a real division amongst Arsenal fans about him right now, and Emery just doesn't seem to take to it.
The irony is that they're probably going to let Ramsey go and keep Ozil, when I think it should be the opposite.
Argument that came up, yeah.
And it was on Sky Sports. It looks like Ramsey could be going to PSG.
I think it'll be one of PSG,
He's in
Bayern,
talks.
or Juve.
Like that doesn't happen often. What an upgrade!
Yeah, by the way, though, Aaron Ramsey, what a player. I think
Yeah,
I've said it
Terrific
before.
football player.
I don't mean to overstate it, but I do think that maybe with the exception of Madrid's midfield, he could walk into any midfield in the world.
On his day, he is that.
I think he is so good, and he works so hard, and he's always got an end product. So I really would like him to leave in Arsenal if they're not going to play him.
Mm.
To Emery's credit, we've given him credit, but he's not afraid to make a decision, and some of the decisions he's made this season have been great calls. But I think one of the bad decisions in his reign so far, if he's happy to let Ramsey go and keep Ozil, I don't know what he's smoking.
I wouldn't mind some of it.
But yeah,
And
I think Reece will agree as well.
And credit to Aaron Ramsey as well. The way the season's gone, he's obviously been told by Emery straight off the bat, you're not my cup of tea. We'll give you a go, but I don't think you're my cup of tea. And as the season's gone on, it's become more and more obvious that he's not going to get that chance at Arsenal again under Emery, which first of all is criminal in itself. But credit to Aaron Ramsey, he's not one of these people who's gone like, for example, Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal. He's just completely dropped
tantrumed.
He's conducted himself well.
He always comes off the bench and he tries his level best for the club. And it sounds weird to say, because that's what you should do if you're getting paid to do it. Like if I get sacked from my job in 6 weeks, and I knew I was getting sacked, then I'd still work hard for them 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Still do my job. But a lot of footballers don't seem to do it.
Mm.
And credit Aaron Ramsey, he's been nothing but professional the whole way through.
Yeah,
the
he's
season.
setting the example, especially to like youngsters watching football as well, and young fans. That's the type of thing that you want to see, because that certain players that you see like Sanchez will send out such a bad message.
Yeah.
But not only has he come off the bench, but he's come off the bench and still made an impact. And he's come on, he scored goals, he set goals, he's even changed games. He was vital in them turning over Spurs as well at the Emirates when he came on. I think it was him, I can't remember who came on with him, but replaced Iwobi and Mkhitaryan, and he was an absolute game changer. And he's still, when I'm watching Arsenal games and he comes on, he's still showing us evidence of how good he is.
Yeah.
But Emery he's having none of it.
That Arsenal game exposed what we kind of already knew, that defensively they're not the best. Who would you have come in defensively for Arsenal?
Well, the real villain, first of all, in that game for Arsenal was the guy who came in for Hector Bellerin, Scott Lichtsteiner, right?
Oh, is it Stefan Lichtsteiner?
Oh, yes, Stefan.
Something like that, yeah.
We'll just call him Lichtsteiner, right?
Yeah.
He comes in, and for the record, they signed him at the start of the season. I thought to myself, that's decent.
I remember saying to you that I thought it was a bad signing, and you disagreed.
I thought it's cover for Hector Bellerin. He's been playing for Juventus. Why not? But he was awful. He was at fault for the first goal. And to be fair, Brighton could have gone on to win it, and it would have been his fault, the chances that they had. But it was all because of long raking balls, diagonal balls across the pitch towards Lichtsteiner, which you couldn't deal with. I actually read a tweet from an Arsenal fan going, we got Lichtsteiner on a free, and I still feel like we've been conned.
Yeah. And I said at the time, and he has been a very good player. It was Juventus he came from, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did.
And he's been a very good servant for them, and he has been a good player. But I said to Reece when they signed him that the Italian football's a lot slower, and he's a little bit older, and I just think that he won't adjust and adapt to the Premier League football and the intensity of it. And with these ones, you can toss a coin, can't you? Sometimes it'll turn out very, very well, sometimes it won't. And I know Reece said at the time that he thought it was a decent signing and good cover, but he's not showing a great deal at the moment, is he?
I think if he had any true value, he'd still be at Juventus now. Because good
possibly.
players, clubs generally don't let good players go, unlike Arsenal, who seem to let everybody go. But yeah, I'm looking at the defenders that I think would be good. I mentioned it to you, Becky, after. I think if people go back and listen to it on the SoundCloud page, it was after Leicester played United earlier on in the season, and I said Ben Chilwell would be a terrific Arsenal signing. And again, on the weekend against Manchester City, he was bombing past Kyle Walker. And he's only, I think, 21, 22 years old. As a long-term investment and an English player, could do far worse than Ben Chilwell.
Their fullbacks they don't have any quality. I don't rate Bellerin. Monreal,
he's okay, he's not.
He's quick.
Yeah, he's quick, yeah.
But it's like I said with Kyle Walker the other week, you take pace away from Kyle Walker. I think it's the same with Bellerin.
Yeah.
I don't rate Monreal. I don't rate
any of the back four.
Kolasinac is the only one I would say that has any real attributes.
But even then, as a backup, I would have him. I wouldn't have him as a starter.
So I don't think Ben Chilwell would be a bad signing, but I think they have bigger problems in the.
Well, who would you go for as say centre half? Arsenal have a budget which will be. Alright, let's say they can spend 60 million on a centre half. Who would you go for?
Is Koulibaly beyond their reach?
The problem that you have is United also need centre halves, and they'll pay bigger wages and they'll pay higher transfer sums. So they're competing with the likes of United for centre halves.
Yeah.
They could go for the Barcelona youngster.
Longley.
Langley is a good player.
There's a few players they could go for, but
did you say Alderweireld?
United,
Jesus Christ, that would be some signing.
No, isn't it? Sol Campbell,
yeah,
Volume 2.
Campbell, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
To get Thierry Henry in for a third goal.
Yeah.
Just to give him a centre half.
Yeah, do a job.
Honestly, I with the Ben Chilwell thing, I just think no. You're a big fan of Ben Chilwell.
I love Ben Chilwell,
right? But
I think he's a great player.
He's got a good attitude. What you'll say he
does
his defensive work.
Mm.
He does his defensive work, and he goes forward, and he does his attacking work as well, right? Both to no brilliant extent. I could say the same thing about Paul Dummett. Okay.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think they're too.
He defends well and he attacks okay, right? Yeah. But Ben Chilwell is not someone. If you're an Arsenal fan and you go, oh, do you know what? We need a left back like Mendy, someone going forward, someone attacking who can, be solid at the back. And also really attack that fullback and make things happen. And you don't look. If you're an Arsenal fan, I don't think there's one Arsenal fan who will sit there and go, "I think the answer is Ben Chilwell." You're looking for a foreigner.
You just done such a disservice to Ben Chilwell by even putting him in the same sentence as Paul Dummett.
I obviously I know he's better.
There's a limited stock of left backs available as well. There's only so many people they can get.
My point is that. I'm not saying he's on the same level of Paul Dummett. I'm saying that he's probably in the same bracket of defenders that do a good, decent job, but generally won't ever amount to a big team.
Who knows? Without giving the chance, I suppose.
But you kind of said that he's a decent defender and he's decent going forward. That's not a bad player to have.
Danny Rose is an awful defender, so he's a bad example. But you're
second in the league and he's a bad defender. So.
He doesn't play though. Ben Davies plays.
Well, they can rotate it.
Honestly,
Gary Neville made a living out of consistency of defending and attacking. I know the football is a bit different now.
I think Chilwell would be a good signing.
I do as well.
Just in terms of defensively, I think the one player Arsenal fans, let us know what you think as well. But I was looking at Skriniar from Inter Milan. I think he'd be a good signing. Okay. They'll probably be in my video.
It's like you say, left backs, a good left back is hard to come by. So I don't exactly have them rolling off the tongue at the moment because
that's what I mean.
That's the thing.
Who is that?
Yeah, Bernat. That's another one from Bayern Munich. I think he's at. They got Jose Gaya, who's at Valencia.
But then you have, the gamble that you make then is trying to sign a foreign left back from abroad.
I honestly think
can
that.
Go
but the
go
prime
both ways.
example, right, and you may have seen in the news, and people may have seen it as well, is Lucas Hernandez. He's currently Bayern's left back. He's currently Atletico Madrid's left back, and the talk of him going to Bayern. It seems like the transfer fee has been agreed, and they've offered to pay his buyout. But Lucas Hernandez will go to Bayern Munich and play as a centre half. He won't play as a left back. So that's where he's excelled, which again is very interesting. Apparently he can play centre back. I've never seen him play there though. But that's another left back taken off the list. So he's unobtainable. There's very few left backs Arsenal can get where you go, he's in the Mendy bracket. Because they're just out of reach, so you have to compromise at some point. That's my opinion, anyway.
Well, no, 100%. I agree with that. And just to ask you both a question in terms of what you think of Arsenal as a whole at the moment, because they're really sort of tailing off at the moment. And they went 20 something games unbeaten or something around there.
I think that for the squad they have, particularly the defence, I think to do what they've done and play the football that they've done successfully is very good. And I think as soon as they can invest in their defence, they'll go from strength to strength.
I don't think they'll finish top 4, Arsenal.
No.
And there was a lot, the people are very quick once Arsenal are on this good run that they're on to say, are the expectations changing a little bit, are they maybe expected, to have a cup run or get into the top 4? And I think I said it to you guys last week that the manner of some of the games that they were winning or not losing in was last ditch, and they were coming on in the second half and having to rescue a lot of games. And I didn't think they were all that impressive. That Lacazette and Aubameyang have been very, very good, right? There's no way you can doubt that. But I just think that what's happening now is not a surprise.
Yeah, but what it does show is that they've got an extra gear to go to should they need to do it. And their manager can get them together at half-time and just go, okay, this is what we need to do differently. You can identify the weaknesses, what's not going right, and rectify a game plan, like you said when he took off Iwobi and Mkhitaryan and then changed the game against Spurs. I would not be surprised to see Arsenal finish top 4. I don't think they will. I think it'll be Chelsea.
And you look, it was a week or so back, they were 11 points ahead of United. Now they're only 6 points ahead of United. So they could
be 3 by the end. By the end, Liverpool, Arsenal. If they lose
and for as bad as United have been, and as good as as good as Arsenal have been, they could be just 3 points ahead of us. And so I think it's going to be more like a United, Chelsea, Arsenal. Maybe United might struggle to sort of get in that mix, but I think you're going to have City, Liverpool, Spurs will be like a 3, and then the Chelsea and Arsenal, maybe United would be sort of looking for that 4th spot.
I think we'd all agree with that. Yeah, cool. So Arsenal fans, let us know what you think. We want everybody's opinions, whether it's Arsenal related or anybody else. Again, our IG ats and Twitter ats are going to be coming up now. We'll be back in a moment and we'll go over the best of the rest. Alright people, we're back. So we'll go over the best of the rest, and then we'll go over a few other bits and pieces as well. Things like, player of the season so far, signing of the season so far. I'm going to give a little mention at the end to Memphis Depay. You'll see why later on. It's not of interest to most, but it might be to some. Next game we're going to, we'll touch upon Palace Cardiff and get it out the way, because it was 0-0, and I didn't watch it because there was some paint drying somewhere else, so it was fucking diabolical.
Go on.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you all about it. It was 0-0. Next.
Yeah. Should we just leave it at that, or are we doing them a disservice?
I'll just say one thing, that after the result that Palace had against City at the Etihad and the goals that they scored, they just went all floppy cocked, didn't they? Yeah. I think they could be the wet wipe of the week, Crystal Palace.
They might be, mind.
Because
they might be.
I looked at that game and thought, oh, this is ideal for them. Like, they've had a really, really good win against City. This is a really good opportunity for them to just throw another 3 points on the board. They got the quality. They're against, you couldn't handpick much of a better game, you wouldn't think, and they just completely drew a blank. It was awful.
Palace mustered, this is the BBC stats, so shout out to the BBC as well. Palace mustered 31 shots in the game. How are you going to have 31 shots and not score a goal?
Especially against Cardiff.
Against Cardiff, of all people.
I think I mentioned this earlier on in the season as well, but Palace creating a lot of chances and just not being able to get the ball over the line. And that you look at some of the goals they scored in the City game, they score absolute thunderbolts, but they don't do the basics that well. When they create, they don't take the decent chances that they create.
They've got a great front three though: Townsend, Mayer, and Zaha. That's a front three most clubs would love to have, outside of the top 6 at least. Max Mayer is a very good football player. Townsend, we know what he can do. And Zaha, realistically, should be playing at a higher level and challenging himself more. I don't understand how you can score 30, or you have 31 shots on target, or 31 shots in a game and just not score. You peppered them. How is it not just at least one?
The one thing I will, you say about Zaha and Townsend is that they're kind of similar players in the way that they're very quick. They're good at running with the ball, dribblers. They're kind of wingers, aren't they? But they don't really have an out and out end product, consistent goal scorer. Zaha can make things happen. He can create things. So can Townsend, but they don't really have a go-to goal scorer. Is the only thing I would say.
We found a time machine and we got the Christian Benteke from 2010, maybe. Maybe we could have
possibly
a consistent goal scorer.
And you know what? I think this pretty much sums up the game when we said next. Sky Sports don't even have up the stats for it. It was that shit. that they just couldn't think of any stats.
Couldn't be bothered.
So, there wasn't an awful lot going on, was it?
I think the thing we'd say for Cardiff is that they're trying to make themselves hard to beat, with the exception of a few games, of course. But they're picking up points here and there, which is what you've got to do in your first season. And a point away at Selhurst Park, from their point of view, it's a good point.
Oh, from their point of view, it's terrific.
But
from a Palace point of view,
but I think what you'd have to say about Cardiff is what you would probably have to say about Huddersfield, and that is again what we were saying earlier. They're just very average.
Yeah.
There's no one there who stands out. And in all honesty, I was surprised that they got promoted in the first place. I thought they weren't that entertaining to watch in the Championship, and now they're in the Premier League. They're even less entertaining to watch. So,
other than maybe I suppose Junior Hoylett, he's not a bad player. He scored some great goals as well, but even then, it's not consistent.
Yeah, and you look at Cardiff at the moment. Every point to them is so precious because they're 3 points clear of the relegation zone, with Burnley just 3 points below them. And Cardiff, they've got Leicester away next. Obviously, they're on a pretty good run at the moment. Then they've got Spurs at home, and then they've got a massive game against Huddersfield, which they absolutely need to win.
Yeah, whoever team loses that goes down, in my opinion.
Home, Cardiff are home.
Oh, they are. Interesting.
So they've got like a bit of a mixed bag of fixtures, but the next two, Leicester and Spurs, I wouldn't imagine they would get a point out of any of those two games. So I'm going to look at the Burnley fixtures in a second, but it's like you said, like Reece said, we sort of mentioned how poor Crystal Palace were and no end product, but that's a big point for Cardiff, and they will take any point that they can get at the moment.
They take that all day.
Yeah, I didn't predict it, and I certainly didn't see that being a 0-0 game.
No, I don't think anyone did, to be honest.
But yeah, it was a big point.
Yeah, no, very good point for Cardiff. Well done to them. We'll go into Fulham and Wolves. Sessegnon scored the opening goal of the game. I wanted your opinion on Sessegnon. Do you think he's the best young English talent out right now, or is there better?
No, Jadon Sancho.
You're a Sancho guy.
Yeah, even Reece Nelson as well as another one. I think there's a few better English talents than him as well.
Phil
Foden.
I was going to say Phil Foden. Yeah, I'm a Foden.
But he's getting a lot more game time than Phil Foden. So there's kind of
he's amassed a lot of appearances for Fulham.
Yeah,
especially playing in the Championship.
I thought he'd have done more this season, mind Sessegnon. I know Fulham as a club haven't done that much, but I did think we would see more of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did get the important goal, the breakthrough as well, and I thought they might hang on, but it would have been a bit of an injustice to Wolves had they not have got something out of that.
Yeah.
Mitrovic as well, he had a few good chances. He had one, I was actually watching it again earlier actually, where he came to the edge of the box and he completely dummied it and spun the defender, then went around another one. It was such good play, and all he needed to do was dink it over, but the keeper, to be fair, was a good save. But both sides had good chances. I had Fulham to win this one. Fulham. Fulham.
So
they must be the new
a draw was the best result, but I had Wolves to win this one, but 1-1 again. I don't think you can argue too much about that.
Yeah. What do you think of Morgan Gibbs-White as well? Speaking of English talents,
I actually don't rate him.
Do you not?
No, I don't rate him.
I think he's fantastic.
I think you watch him and I think he has a low centre of gravity. He's got a turn of pace, but I don't think he's actually got an end product. I mean, Wolves fans love him, and he's played a lot this season. But I'm sorry, I just don't see it.
Sometimes, Reece, I do think we watch different games.
I'm going to be honest. I think I've seen a different player to Reece. Yeah.
Yeah, and you say and you're perfectly entitled to your own opinion, right? And you could turn out to be correct, okay? But up until this point in the season, he has showed a decent end product.
He's been very
scored goals, assisted goals,
playing well for Wolves, and what Wolves have done.
He could just, I agree, and he could just be riding a wave and it could tail off and whatever, right? But I think it's difficult to not agree at the moment and say that he is showing a lot of potential.
Potential, sure, but I just don't think anything will amount to him. Just like 99% of English footballers ever.
It depends on the expectations that are placed on him, I suppose. I mean, you look at someone like Jack Wilshere, for example, who had everything and has faded into obscurity. I completely forgot Jack Wilshere even existed this season. Again, sorry Jack if you happen to be listening, but I absolutely had no idea he was still playing football. I remember at the start of the season when he signed for West Ham, I remember thinking this could work out quite well for him. Has anybody seen Jack Wilshere since?
He's been injured.
He's only played once, I think. He's been injured.
Yeah, he's been injured for
Other than being seen in A&E, has he been seen anywhere else?
At home, feet up.
Yeah, just chilling.
Taking a wage.
Yeah. Gibbs-White, I think it will be an excellent signing for Tottenham Hotspur. They're good at developing young English players.
What's his face?
I know you completely disagree.
Behave.
I think he's a good player. I think he really has potential.
Right, let's say Spurs spend £30 million on him. What are they going to do with him? Because they're not going to play him. They're not going to play him, are they? When's he going to ever get in ahead of Son, Ericsson,
He wouldn't necessarily get in
Mora,
ahead of him.
Lamella,
Like training with better players every day and playing.
He's
every
nowhere
now
near
and
that
then.
level, and I don't think he ever will be near that
I
level.
don't know, man. I think you're underestimating him.
Maybe you could make a case for an Everton because they currently got an opening on the right wing,
enough,
or a centre forward instead of
maybe not
Calvert-Lewin.
that high a jump, but I certainly think he'd be an excellent signing for someone looking to develop a young English player. That's my take on it. I mean, you look at clubs like Dortmund and other clubs in Germany. They're always on the lookout for talented young English players now. Why not keep him in England and give him a chance?
I think Jack Grealish is a good example. Now, Jack Grealish.
Grealish is Irish, isn't he? Or is he English?
English.
He's like on a Monday he's Irish, and on a Tuesday he's English.
He's an example.
Declan Rice.
He has been involved in a lot of goals this season for Aston Villa. But if you ask me, will he ever be able to make that jump to even the Premier League?
Well, Spurs tried to sign him. But
I thought it would be a terrible move for Spurs, by the way. But I honestly don't think he's capable of playing Premier League football.
Considering with Dele Alli, he turned out to do pretty well at Spurs, and he was playing lower league football.
Yeah.
And sort of making a similar impact as players like Grealish and stuff like that are doing. So
when I watched Morgan Gibbs-White in that team with Sancho, with Foden, with Angel Gomez, he didn't look out of place amongst those players, and they're very good players.
Yeah.
And he has come on in Premier League games and showed that he has serious potential. I really like him as a football player. Him staying at Wolves, this is just hypothetical. I think he'll stay at Wolves, and he has every right to it. That's the home club. He can develop in peace there. But should somebody be looking for a young English talent, he's probably the most readily available, other than maybe Hudson-Odoi at Chelsea, who would want more game time because he'll probably leave. Who knows though?
He's another one I don't think that will develop either.
Hudson-Odoi?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot in promise, but
me and you are going to fall.
If people can't already tell, Reece, and that you are the pessimistic.
No, I mean
sideways,
there are players. Like I think Ryan Sessegnon, for example, he's got a great turn of pace, and he seems to have a really good end product, and he's got a good attitude. Hudson-Odoi, I think he gets on the ball, and you just don't think he knows what he's going to do with it.
He's still young though, in fact.
Of course he's young, yeah, but I just don't think he'll ever, especially being at Chelsea, he'll be on loan at Vitesse, and he'll fade away. But
quick little football trivia for you, because you touched upon Ryan Sessegnon again, without looking at my screen.
Cheating there.
Ryan Sessegnon is the third youngest player to score a goal in the Premier League on Boxing Day. I think Reece just looked at my screen. I told you not to. So he's the third youngest player to score a goal in the Premier League on Boxing Day. After which two players?
I have no idea. I'm going to say Michael Owen.
Yes.
I haven't looked either, by the way. That's just a guess.
18 years old, 12 days. And James Milner, 16 years old,
really?
356 days.
great player.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we'll draw a line under that because we'll just agree to disagree for now. But speaking of Chelsea, excellent win against Watford away. In terms of going to Watford and getting 3 points, it's not been easy for any side. So for them, challenging for top four, I think, very. No,
United did it though, so wasn't that hard.
Well, United, they had
hot
their
and cold,
peaks and troughs, and they hot and cold. But
your boy.
And now I know we won't get into this. We won't get into this this too much because I know Reece is like Hazard isn't all that. Reece doesn't think anybody's all that, by the way.
You've obviously never watched Paul Dummett play, mate.
I like Hazard as a footballer, and I'm not a Chelsea fan. But when it comes to being a neutral and watching a game, I want people who are going to entertain me. I just think he's incredible. That's my take on him, and he should be playing at a higher level than Chelsea. I think ultimately Madrid will come calling for him. Do you think he can go to a Madrid and succeed?
Yeah, I mean, the reason being is that league it doesn't require a Ronaldo to be able to score lots of goals. I think we've seen that with people like Ben Yedder or Coutinho, people who aren't at the absolute top level and have managed to bag for fun. So yeah, if he went to Madrid, he'd obviously get the goals. My problem with Eden Hazard is that I don't like his work rate, and I think all this business with him in the media going up, I might go to Madrid, I might do this. I'm sorry, but that is just disrespectful to your club. That's what I dislike about him.
I kind of agree with that a little bit. But the question comes to him a lot. So.
And I think he runs around the pitch like he owns it, like he knows he's the best player on it. Don't get me wrong, I know he's a great player, but he's just not my cup of tea. If I was a manager and I was picking a World 11, I wouldn't put him in it.
I'd be close to having him in it. I don't know who. I can't.
He'd be close to being in it, but
I don't think he'd be in my top 3 left wingers, let alone my team.
Really?
in world football.
In world
Who would
football,
you have
yeah.
ahead of him?
Oh, okay. Ronaldo as my left winger.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And Hazard.
Neymar.
Okay, you can make that argument, yeah.
And to be honest, I think that Coutinho has really turned into that player for Barcelona. I think he's been unreal. But I think there's other players you can make a case for as well. I mean, Aubameyang's been playing out wide for Arsenal. I think he's been
It's not a
tremendous.
natural winger.
Sané?
is he?
Sané again is it?
I would have Hazard over Sané. I think anybody that picks Sané over Hazard is lying like fuck. You gotta be. Did Hazard's a step above. Sané is good, but Hazard is a step above Sané.
Would you rather, just a completely random question, since we're comparing certain players, would you rather have Kane or Mbappe?
They're different positions, aren't they?
No,
Well, they're
they're the same.
both
They're
strikers. Both
One's
frontmen.
more of a target man than the other. But
Or Salah and
Mbappe's
Mbappe.
more of a winger, isn't he?
No, he plays-
Mbappe's a,
he's number one guy, like.
Mbappe's
I'd have Mbappe.
Mbappe, yeah.
I'd have Mbappe.
Over Kane and Salah.
Yes, definitely over Salah.
Oh no, you mean over the two, or just comparing?
Just versus this, so Mbappe versus Kane and Mbappe versus Salah.
All right, I thought you meant Kane and Salah versus Mbappe. That's going to be an unfair fight.
I like Harry Kane, but I don't think you can talk enough about how good Mbappe is. I think Mbappe, fast forward 10 years and we could be talking about Mbappe in the same way that we currently talk about Lionel Messi. I honestly believe that.
Is there any other out-and-out striker in the world you would have above Mbappe then?
As it stands.
Well, he's not an out-and-out striker in my opinion.
That's where he's playing at the moment for
Well, he
PSG.
played for France, he played as an
Aguero.
striker.
If I was lining up for a one-off game, I'd have Aguero.
I'd probably have Mbappe now, given age, given the fact he has potential. So much
I'd have him.
potential. Aguero's on a downward now. I don't think you'll ever see
I just stick
a real
with Lukaku,
Aguero
really.
again.
That's not.
Oh, look, no one's having cement boots right now. we don't want him in the side. But yeah, no, I'm going back to Chelsea. Great win. Again, very impressive. I think they'll get in the top 4 ahead of United. That's my final take on Chelsea.
Well, they're currently 8 points ahead of United, so it'll be some turnaround.
It can happen, but I just don't think it will. That's my take. Anyway.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, what do you think of Watford as well, Reece, by the way? Because me and Becky have talked them up quite a bit. Do you think they've done quite
They're
well?
7th at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, what you'd say about them is they're overachieving. I mean, you look at their squad, and then that's the type of squad, for example, a Burnley, where they do well this season, and then next season comes, and they just cannot reach those heights. What I will say is that people like Deulofeu and Pereira have had absolutely outstanding seasons. When you sign a player from Barcelona or from Juventus, you know you're getting a quality player. It doesn't matter. There's only a small.
Other than Liechtenstein, actually, yeah.
There's only a small number of cases where a side have signed, like Watford have signed someone from a really, really top European club, and that player hasn't turned out to be one of the better players in their team. And I think Deulofeu he's been unbelievable this season, as well as Pereira. They've been two factors.
Tell you who's also been very good for them this season is Holebas.
Yeah,
Arsenal left back. You mentioned that. I'm kidding, but he's really contributed a lot this season. He's actually scored quite a few goals. I haven't got the stat to hand, but I brought it up not so long back, spoken about he's actually had a hand in quite a few goals this season. So when you have players who are sort of playing out their skin a little bit and doing well, then teams they can overachieve. Will they finish in 7th? I don't think they will, Watford. But they're doing very well at the moment, aren't they? Deulofeu as well, he's having a really good season as well, like you said.
Yeah, no, very true. That Watford team, I think they'll be top 10. It would take an awful lot for Watford to really fuck that up and actually not be top 10 now.
I actually think that they will finish outside that top 10.
Do you reckon?
Yeah,
Of course you do.
If I had to pick 7th, 8th,
What
9th,
a shock,
10th.
yeah.
If I had to pick 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, I'd probably pick, in any order, Everton, West Ham, Bournemouth and Everton. If I said Everton? I think Wolves
It's
as
just
well.
always going to be different. If I'd been the
Wolves.
Tenerife,
I
he's
think-
been 11 Reef.
Yeah.
That's just...
I just
disagree.
I just think Watford are somewhat riding a wave. I think they're going to have a few results that are going to knock them. I think that Wolves have more overall quality, but I think that at the moment their performances aren't showing that. But there's no question that Watford are overachieving, and I think they'll be good this season.
Cool. All right, we'll draw a line under that then. Last game of the Boxing Day fixtures was West Ham and Southampton. We've spoken at length about Felipe Anderson-Vecchi. We've gone on about him non-stop. I wanted to ask you both in a moment as well. We'll do it after this if you want your sign into the season. He's my sign into the season. his performances have just been absolutely outrageous, and the way he glides along the pitch and his technique, I think he might be one of the most naturally gifted footballers I've probably ever seen on a pitch. If you actually look at him and you watch him very closely, his technique is unbelievable and his movement is brilliant. I put a tweet out yesterday saying I can't believe bigger clubs didn't go in for him. It gobsmacks me that no one did.
Yeah.
And West Ham, as I've said before, will be very lucky to hold on to him at the end of the season. But they could comfortably charge double what they paid.
Yeah, West Ham historically have done well in signing quite big talented players. They haven't done it for a couple of years, I don't think, that other clubs just haven't gone for. Remember when they signed Mascherano and Tevez? Years back.
That was quite dodgy though, wasn't it?
Chicharito.
Yeah, and they sign players and you think, how did they get him? How did nobody else get them? And I don't know what it is that they're doing, but Felipe Anderson has been an incredible signing. And like you said about how talented he is, it's one thing to run quick without the ball, but the way that he moves the ball, the speed in which he moves the ball and dribbles with the ball is
everything about him.
Yeah, in an attacking sense with the ball at his feet, it has no limits to what he can really do. But I'd be interested to see if he does sustain it now in the second half of the season, because he could very easily tail off, and just have one good half of the season. But he can't do any wrong at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to have to shock you guys here and agree with you.
Whoa, what?
I think he's
cancel Christmas and New Year. This is agreed.
I think we sat down together, James, and we watched West Ham at the start of the season. I think it was a Liverpool game or whoever it was, and we said, Felipe Anderson, he seems a bit lightweight, seems a little bit, he needs to toughen up, and I don't know if he's going to be the player that we thought, but my gosh, he's proved us wrong. He has excelled in a West Ham shirt. He is the guy. He is the Dimitri Payet that they didn't have last season.
Yeah, that's very true.
He is scoring, and defenses are scared of him, which is that says it all. Because if you've got a player that defenses are going to be scared of, then they're going to back off, and that's going to give you that extra couple of yards to work and attack. Whereas, as opposed to a player that defenses aren't so afraid of, maybe someone like who's doing well, like a Chilwell coming at you. No one's really scared of a Chilwell, so they kind of press you a little bit more.
Say that to his face.
Yeah, he reminds me of like a bit of a Sane. The same impact that Sane made. You're just bombing down, just quick.
Yeah.
He can finish. He's got really good feet, and he's a bit of a team player as well. He's assisting goals as well as scoring. Yeah. When you come out and said I'm going to shock you, I thought, he's going to do it again. He's actually I'm going to shock you. I'm going to disagree with you, but no, I'm fine. We can all agree on something eventually.
Yeah, Southampton unlucky. Didn't play that bad, but Southampton again. You tipped them to go down Becky. Do you think they'll stay up now with a new manager?
I have since said that any club that changes their manager, because I don't think like a Huddersfield or a Burnley would change their manager. They've got too much loyalty, with Dyche and David Wagner as well. But yeah, the clubs like Southampton do often change managers, and if Mark Hughes had stayed a bit longer, I definitely would have agreed with my original prediction.
Yeah.
But they seem to be a little bit different side under Hasenhüttl. But I'm undecided now at the moment about Southampton. I think that what they've got going for them is that they have wins in them, and there's too many worse sides than them at the moment. Burnley and Huddersfield and Fulham.
Yeah.
At the start of this season, when United lost 3-0 to Spurs, we sat in here and we discussed potential managerial replacements for Jose Mourinho. And one name I put to you as one of the best managers I could find for your project with Manchester United was Ralph Hasenhüttl. And I think for Southampton to get him it's an unreal appointment, and I think they'll really, really start to feel because he's got the Southampton way in him. Pochettino had it. Koeman had it, and this guy he's built a team in RB Leipzig, and I think it's a terrific appointment, and I think they really, really. I would not be surprised to see them go and finish 14th or 13th.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me. No, not at all.
Yeah, no, totally agree. They seem to be on the upwards now. So
there's no shame losing to that West Ham side, and especially with the goals that Anderson is scoring. There's no shame in that at all.
Yeah, no,
they certainly didn't play bad.
My signing of the season thus far is Felipe Anderson. Yours is?
Someone who's not going to get mentioned ever in any Premier League awards, Lucas Torreira.
Oh, you fucker.
I think Lucas Torreira is.
I was going to go with that.
At the start of the season, I looked at that sign and I thought he could be good. And I wasn't sure if he'd be able to make that step from Sampdoria to Arsenal. But to watch him play as a midfield sweeper is brilliant, and I think he's part of the reason Arsenal have been, playing well this season is because they've had that guy in the midfield seeing things happening and breaks it up.
Yeah.
I think he's a terrific player, and I don't think they paid a lot of money for him, so that's a great signing.
It is, yeah.
I was going to go Torreira before Reece pinched him off me. What I'll do, just in the interest of having three different players, someone we mentioned earlier on in the episode, I'm going to go with Shaqiri.
Okay.
Then we've already spoke about why he's really good for them coming off the bench as well. Even when he starts, he's making a real impact. And just add as well that's hard to do, especially as an attacking player in a team with Salah, Mane and Firmino. So big credit to Shaqiri.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we'll draw a line under the Boxing Day fixtures. There's no Euro roundup, naturally, due to winter breaks and various other things. But I do want to bring some European news. Now, you two probably haven't heard this, right?
Please.
But I was watching it earlier on. Me and Becky discussed this. It might have been a couple of episodes ago.
But Memphis
Depay. Now, Memphis Depay at the time got, I think it was like 5 or 6 million Instagram followers, and he released this little like freestyle. He was dropping some bars. Reece is like, what? Reece is not
music
that
Reece doesn't even surface
so
for.
Basically, Memphis Depay, aka the Jay-Z wannabe, put out his little Instagram post. Now, I thought that would be the end of it. I was like, I don't want to hear any more of this. But as you can see looking at my screen,
it's got a full-on
Memphis Depay
record.
has just released his first song. Now, it may come through the speakers, it may not. So I'll put it on and see what people think. But the song is called No Love by Memphis Depay. It's been out 24 hours and it's had, give or take, 2 million views. Now, I criticise Memphis Depay, saying you should focus on football. It's low-key kind of good. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie.
How much auto-tune is it?
Well, there's a little bit of auto-tune in it. And there's a little bit... It's mostly in Dutch. So if you know your Dutch, you'll be big into
Elko,
it.
big up Elko.
But he kind of goes... I think it'll come through our headphones, will it? Can you hear it?
Yep.
Can you hear
I
it?
can hear it in the headphones, yeah.
You might not be able to hear it, actually, on the thing. But, lads, if you can hear it...
It's got a Milky Chance vibe to it.
If you haven't heard it, actually go away and watch it. We'll just do a quick review of it now. You probably can't hear all of it, lads. I'll play it for you afterwards. But anyway,
I can hear it just fine.
It won't come through the speakers. But yeah, Memphis Depay, if you get a chance, go watch it and critique it. It's actually not that bad. I never thought I would say that about Memphis Depay rapping.
And you were slating him as well.
Do you know what? I don't understand a lot of what he's saying, but it's fire. Some of the beat is really good. So.
Despacito got massive. That's a different language.
I mean, I don't know how much spare time he has on his hands during the winter break, but Memphis Depay's going triple platinum, and that's what's going to happen. So we'll end it on that note. Thanks for basically watching us this season, guys. This will be our last one of the year. Reece is going back up north. The 26 episodes that we've done this year, hopefully we'll triple that next year. So to everybody that supported us, whether it's on SoundCloud or YouTube or, shared Facebook posts from me and Becky or tweeted us, to everybody, we really appreciate it. Next year, it's going to be our year, hopefully.
Yes. Smash the like button as well.
Yeah, hit the like button.
People forget to hit the like button sometimes.
Hit subscribe as well, because the videos will come straight through to you. As I said, we're going to have... Me and Becky will be back for the New Year's fixtures. We'll also have our videos released in terms of transfer targets for the top 6 as well. So, on that note, we'll bid you farewell. Enjoy your new year. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. And we will be back shortly with some more content. Take care, people. Ciao.